After having a rather painful time playing Glitchpunk, I made a mental note to myself that it's likely only gonna go up here from there. 2D GTA clones aren't that widespread as a phenomenon, so chances are pretty high that most of them would not be plagued with as many issues, both technical and game design related, as Glitchpunk was. But instead of having a shot in the dark, I've actually decided to play a game that I have started before, but I never finished it due to various personal circumstances at the time. And I knew well enough that I would have a pretty decent time playing it. Hello, I'm Tezuro, and I'm on a quest to play and, well, review, so to say, every 2D GTA clone. This is second episode of this series, if you want to call it that way, and the game in question is Rustler. Released out of early access in the second half of 2021, Rustler is probably best described as medieval 2D GTA, which devs definitely played into, calling it Grand Theft Horse as part of their Kickstarter pitch, and even somewhere in SteamDB the name's still buried. But it is there. Game roots are deep in old school GTA, where the top priority was always to fuck around, get some stars and avoid the police. We offer that plenty. I've not been following many Kickstarter campaigns myself, or at the very least I've not seen many in a very, very long time, but the page for the game does such a good job covering it that it honestly might just be a script for this section of the video. They tell all the key features in a very precise and concise manner, which results in a non-shocking outcome of Kickstarter meeting not only main but a few stretch goals. In Rustler, you play as a guy named Guy, and you with your buddy named, well, you guessed it, Buddy, are trying to participate in royal tournament and become a king. That's a very short synopsis of the story. The plot or the story is surprisingly simple and straightforward, and if you ignore as much of a side content as humanly possible, you have around like 20 missions or so, but in my opinion they're mostly very well put together as a story. Writing is pretty alright and just tries to push absurdity to the new limit every time. You see, despite being set in medieval times, game's writing and just overall design constantly taps into modern culture, be that memes, music, news agenda, propaganda, and so on. And to me that never felt like an identity crisis, but rather a very solid foundation, though it is very referential. Like, I can see how some people might have the same issue with the game, like I always hear about the Big Bang Theory, where the critics just say, hey, there is no actual writing, everything's trash, is just references. And yeah, I get it, but I think in Rustler's case, the general change of scenery and setting makes this kind of comedy work pretty well. Though some jokes, of course, go on repeat for too long or are just blatant rip-offs from Monty Python skits, be that a flesh wound joke from the Holy Grail, or the whole "no one expects the Spanish Inquisition" thing, but they're still foundational stones to unique stories and various new characters of Rustler's universe. Like, for example, Knights of the Holy Grail are just a bunch of dudes resembling Dark Souls characters, like Solar of Astora, for example, from DS1, who just found their true and only love and like Holy Grail, that being alcohol, and they just want to register their own distillery. Inquisition, who are fighting with heretical round earthers trying to find more concrete evidence that Earth is actually flat, or Prince of a royal family who rebels against noble expectations that are put on him and just tries to become a hip-hop star, and so on. Side stories is, in my opinion, where the writing really goes far and beyond in this game, and you'd be required to interact with some of it to complete the main story, though not much. So if you're not into it, you can skip almost all of it. Game's world is decently big, having only 2 main areas where story plays out, and even a simple ride from one side of a map to another takes around like 2 minutes horizontally and 1 vertically, which is honestly quite nice, as the game doesn't try to drag itself, until it does in some side content. I'll get to that later. Most activities in the game take a very reasonable time to complete, and you can definitely beat the entire main story casually within 4 hours or so, while also visiting most of the map and experiencing just biggest part of the game's mechanics. So let's talk mechanics. Main transport in Rustler is obviously horses of just so many calibers, single and carriages of many types. And it's crazy to me, but they did manage to make all horse types distinguishable from top-down view and one another. Something I can't even say that the Red Dead series did for me. Weird. After a couple hours in a game, I could easily tell almost every single horse in a game apart. What does suck though is the carriages are almost never worth it. They just used when the game requires you to use them, but otherwise, horses that carry those don't have any stamina, so why use them at all? Because you will just run out of speed almost instantly, and yeah, it's just upsetting. It doesn't seem that there are many grades of speed. There's something I would call very slow, normal, and fast, and maybe there is one like very fast horse. I'm not sure. Maybe the very fast horse has the same speed as the fast ones. After 100% in the game and doing all the speedrun related stuff, I'm pretty sure all the high-end horses have like the same speed. Maybe the only different thing they have is like stamina parameters. There's no way to mod your horses, so to say. There is no like nitro and like a crazy visual changes that you can do. Like none of that is here. But you can get certain power-ups to improve like interactions with the horses, being able to not fall from any types of horse, be that slow or fast ones, having bigger stamina regen numbers, and just being able to summon horse like on demand, like just like this, being able to pick up loot without getting off the horse, which is actually really busted. I'll talk about that in a bit. And well, yeah, of course you can repaint the horse. Wouldn't be a GTA clone without some sort of paint spray mechanic. Cops, or well, guards, do a decent job of being a threat that you don't want around you. They can knock you off the horse, outnumber you, snipe with crossbows, or insta-bust. Is it called busted in this game? I think it's called jail, I don't remember. They're also an absolute menace when it comes to using carriages. They'll wreck those in seconds, making some submissions like corpse collection or medic cart an absolute nightmare to complete. One of the main guards related mechanics in this game is an ability to tear off wanted posters, which reduces your wanted level by 1. Unfortunately, using this on foot is like almost never useful unless you're running around the city, then maybe, I guess. So one of the just most integral skills to enjoy the Rustler is the ability to tear off wanted posters while on a horse. That's the one I mentioned before about pickups on the horse. This is all the same stuff, like everything is just a pickup in this game. You unlock various passive abilities with skill points, and you get skill points for completing mostly story missions. Side stories give you a very little, like 1-2, while almost every single story mission gives you like a 4 points. And to upgrade an average skill you need like 12, I think? Something like that. Some skills that you unlock seem to be mostly gimmicks created out of necessity of having 5 skill per branch of skill tree, quote unquote. It's not really a tree, it's just 4 columns with 5 skills in each of them, and you can level them up in any order you want. And some of them have 3 levels and some of them have only 1. Your combat abilities, all of which are actually really good, especially on hard difficulty, make your health higher, attack stronger, which also adds bleed at the end of like attack upgrade, which is wild. Make your health regen slowly and just add less stamina loss. Ranged abilities revolve mostly around crossbows, which is practically the only ranged weapon in this game. And they're strong, but they're just 2 weapons out of 15, and you really just want being able to reload crossbows while moving. Making it reload faster is also nice, but it's not that necessary. All the extra bolts and poop throwing memes are just plain out useless skills. Well, horse skills I've already covered, and they're pretty much integral to a good experience. Being able not to fall off the horse or being able to pick up items while on a horseback are probably the best skills in the entire game. And I'm pretty sure devs knew that, because if you start on easy, those 2 skills are maxed out of the entire tree. Nothing else is upgraded. So they definitely did understand which limits they put on players. And in my opinion, that's a bit of a bullshit, because it's practically necessary mechanic and it's locked by default on harder difficulties. Well, gladly it wouldn't take too long to unlock this in a fresh playthrough, but still pisses me off a bit. Social skill tree is just mostly useless and is very, very situational, apart from maybe keeping your arsenal after getting arrested by guards. As to movement and fighting, there are two main types of mechanics, on foot and on horse. You can select the way your character controls in a game. There is a way that the game recommends you, highlighting it, and hey, this is the most comfortable way to play, but you can change the control scheme at any point if you messed up or if you feel like it doesn't work for you that well. It's all between like tank controls, whether the W key will make you go where you're looking with the mouse or just the screen oriented. The same goes for the horse. It's honestly quite nice. Not too many games do this kind of thing. I think that definitely benefits it here. Those who just used to older games or those who aren't. Most of 100% non-mission activities are horse related in the game. And with how much I spent talking about horses, you'd imagine that those activities are good. Not exactly good. For some unknown to me reason, devs thought that paramedic and taxi are the best thing that classic GTAs ever had. So not only you get those two, but you also get 3 more of their variants. Yep. There's paramedic, taxi, body collection, carriage delivery, and single horse delivery. All of which require 7 levels to be completed consecutively in order for activity to count. And some of them are short, where you just take one thing and deliver it. That's fine. But like paramedic and body collector is just, you need to do 1 guy, then 2 guys, then 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, and so on, so on. And having to do it in one go is such a pain. Like, I do understand that not everyone watching this video is a completionist, but why have side stuff that's just tedious? It's barely different, and it's just not as fun as just riding in this game. It would be times less frustrating, if not for the fact that getting off the horse just stops the mission flat out, and you have to start from level 1. And to top it off, starting a mission and skipping dialogue uses same button, and you cannot change it. At least I'm pretty sure you cannot, because if you can, and I'm wrong, then I'm stupid, but I'm like 99.9% sure you cannot. So if you are getting a dialogue, and you haven't set up the auto-skip button, no, not the button, the option in the menu, then the dialogue will just get stuck on the screen until you finish the entire 7 levels of whatever you're doing, because trying to just skip the dialogue will cancel the mission. This pissed me off so much, since this is probably one of the very few bugs this game has. And towards the end of the game, there is a lot of NPC dialogues who just randomly pop out of nowhere. And sometimes even seemingly for no reason, maybe those are bugged as well. And I had to do 2 or 3 of those missions with NPCs constantly going driving me absolutely crazy. There is no voice acting in the game, there is text, but when the NPC is talking, they're just like which is honestly okay, except for guards sometimes scream like hold him or whatever. Doesn't make too much sense. Going back to my horse debacle, I also had to redo bloody body collection mission like 8 times due to guards screwing me over in early game because I just did not have a stamina recovery for horse, nor could I collect the wanted posters without getting off the horse. So if I would get like wanted level 2, I'm just screwed. I could not do anything. So yeah, while you only need to do 7 levels of each of those activities, better save it off until the end of the game before final mission. Presumably that's what triggers a lot of dialogues, or just turn on the auto skip in the menu. That will help you greatly. Otherwise, just do it towards the end when you have horse upgrades. This is dragging out. Okay, let's speedrun the worthy mentions. Melee combat isn't exactly deep, but it's decently satisfying. You can roll, attack, and block. Blocking before an enemy attacks you parries the attack, and that's the way you win 90% of fights. The AI manip that seems to be unmatched in this game is just holding a block while looking away from the NPCs, and as soon as they start swinging whatever they're wielding, flick your mouse around and just block their attack, parrying it essentially. And you just repeat this until the end. Halberds in this game do suck. Spears suck slightly less, but I just didn't jam with long weapons. Swords and hatchets are probably the best this game has. Crossbows do pretty good damage, but require a lot of reloading, and sometimes bolts just miss for no good reason, and there is no way to affect it. Is it just a crosshair bug? I don't know. I can't really tell, and I don't really care. Though combat-based activities are probably one of the most fun things in the Rustler. There is 2 of them. MMA stands for Medieval Martial Arts, if you didn't know. Makes you take on 20 different fight encounters, some of which are quite tricky. If there is one activity I'd recommend you finishing for like a non-completionist kind of players, it would be this one. Analogs of kill frenzies are quite limited. There's just 5 of them. I wish there were more, but at least it doesn't drag. As far as I know, DLCs add some, but I don't have any, so I couldn't tell. There are horse races in this, and they're quite fun. There's just 5 of them, and they're rather easy as soon as you get enough grip of your horse, because the horses in a race don't lose any stamina. And then there are 3 types of collectibles. Horseshoes, melody notes, and rare horses, where last one is done via a Pokemon-like crazy horse collector, and his whole thing is just like, it's kind of a Sunshine Autos from GTA Vice City, to be honest. It's kind of annoying because almost all rare horses don't spawn in the world, or I'm pretty sure they don't. They just exist in one parking spot, which you need to find on the map. But the problem is you can ride past that spot and just not see anything, because horses on the fixed spawns don't always spawn, so good luck completing that without the guide. And last worthy mention is the way radio works in the game. You hire a bard and make him ride with you. Very good take in my opinion, though takes too much time to do. But they're very often found on the side of the road, so you'd hear some bits and pieces of music fairly often while you're just riding around. And I'm honestly glad that you do, because soundtrack in this game is really good. It would be really shameful if it was just silence all the time. That's it. I'm finding it hard to talk about the game that's just simply a good game. Not outstanding, not great, just good. It runs well, has close to no bugs, and can be completed fully in less than 12 hours. Though that does not include DLCs, there's 2 of them. I've none. As far as I'm aware, just a few missions and kill frenzies that are there. Yeah, nothing major. Looking at Kickstarter, it seems that they wanted to do more, extra DLC and extra island, but they didn't get to those stretch goals. But I think and the result of the game is satisfying enough where they didn't need more. And just gonna end the review section on a bit of a side note. But looking at the game's rating, I thought, well, that's surprisingly low for such a decent game. But then I realized that I gave exactly the same score to the game. It sits comfortably at 75% on Steam, and 7 out of 10 is just my final rating. Weird how I think that the score is fine, but knowing how public scores work, anything below 8 out of 10 is generally considered not exactly good, and below 50 is just trash. Or at least that's how I now judge the public ratings. Hey. And that's it. I mean, very short review. Hopefully it didn't end up being long. I don't really... During this one, I figured that doing scripted stuff is just so hard for me, for no good reason. But yeah, I mean, Rustler is a decent game, as I already said, and I can't really add more to it. It's one of the more unique games, as in, whatever you see about this game and whatever you feel it plays like, it probably is exactly that. And I cannot really remember that many games from top of my head that do that, which is a good thing in my opinion. The game is cheap, constantly going on like a discounts if you're feeling a bit stingy. Yeah, definitely feeling heart there, definitely feeling like the guys had fun. And the game is almost bugless. There is, as I said, the stupid dialogue bug, and other than that, there is one way the game crashes, but it does it so gently. It like loses all the sounds, and you're like, oh, you're about to crash, dear child. Well, let me just go and save then, because you have like 4 or 5 minutes before it crashes. I'm pretty sure it's not memory leak, because if you restart it, it just runs fine. And I think with memory leak, it generally affects the long time performance of PC. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, a comment, and consider subscribing if you did for more 2D GTA related, GTA 2 specifically, maybe, or just for updates on whatever I'm doing here every now and then. And that's been Tezuro. Hope you having a fantastic day. I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.